This is the first in a series of videos I want to do on progressive hypocrisy. Now, progressives are really great for identifying problems and demanding the political authority and power to fix them, when in fact they cause them. I mean, which of the two parties we have in our country today, the two major parties, Democrat and Republican, were responsible for slavery? The Democrat Party. Jim Crow, the same. Segregation, the same. Separate but equal, the same. Indian Removal Act, the same. Bringing on the Civil War, the same. Moving Japanese Americans during World War II, the same. They're responsible for all these problems. They're responsible for what goes on in the cities, which they've run. They're responsible for what goes on in the college campuses, which they run. And now they want more political power so they can fix the problems that they are themselves responsible for. But they never accept responsibility for anything. It's always somebody else's responsibility. And it's always somebody else who has to pay for it. Now, I've already talked about the cities, and I'll link to the video that I'm referring to below. Minneapolis, run by the Democrats for almost a half century. Philadelphia, 3/4 of a century. Atlanta, the perfect case. Republicans, Atlanta's had a mayor for 178 years. Republicans were in that position of authority for 2 years. So out of 178 years, they've only run the city of Atlanta for 2 years. Democrats or Democrat-related parties have run it for all the other years. There hasn't been a white mayor in Atlanta since 1974. So for basically almost the last half century, Atlanta's had a mayor who was a Democrat and who was African American. But there's racism in Atlanta. So who's responsible for it? It's obviously Donald Trump. It's obviously Republicans. It's obviously white people. It's never the fault of the people who are actually responsible for that. And we see the same thing on our campuses today. I just retired from East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. I taught there for 29 years, virtually 3 decades. And recently I received a copy of a memo from the ECU Faculty Senate, dated June 9th. This is it here. And basically it condemns the university as a racist institution. Now, to an extent that's true. ECU was founded in the early 20th century as a state university in a state during the Jim Crow period. So there was separate but equal, there was segregation, there were all those restrictive laws. Not surprisingly, ECU being a state university reflected that. Some of the founders were indeed, what we would consider today white supremacists. But I would point out they were also Democrats, and they also considered themselves as Southern Democrats, especially North Carolina's progressive Democrats. These were the people who gave us East Carolina University. Now, setting aside the history, who's been running the campus lately? Well, you've all seen the studies of the extent to which professors and administrators on the left totally outnumber administrators and progressives that lean right. There was in the 1990s, there was a survey I remember at ECU, and the ratio was 4-to-1, which was actually pretty good compared to many other universities. Basically, you had 4 liberal or left professors for 1 conservative or right professor. And that's what it was in my department when I got there. We had 30 faculty, and there were about 6 of us who were conservative of one stripe or another, and the rest of the department was all to the left. Center left, far left, depending how you wanted to look at it. I recently retired. I retired in May, along with another colleague. We're only 25 faculty in the department now because, the department was defunded. And of course, defunding means what it sounds like it means. And we lost 5 positions and big chunks of our budget and everything else. With our retirements, of the 25 members of the faculty, there's 1 person that I would say was conservative. So we've gone from 20% of the faculty in our department to 4%. I don't know what the rest of the university looks like. But that's about, the way it is. Now, one of the things that they want to fix, that they've identified as evidence of racism, is the lack of minority faculty. And I wouldn't say that that's not true. Now, there are a lot of reasons for it beyond racism, but I won't go into all that. But what's amazing is that, and I was a chair at ECU for 12 years. I chaired 3 different departments. The people responsible for hiring, faculty hiring at East Carolina University are the faculty. The faculty personnel, tenure, promotion committees make the decisions about hiring. As chair, basically what I could do was to select from the candidates that they considered uh, okay. And if they didn't consider them okay, there was nothing I could do. So sometimes they would only send me one candidate that they approved of. If they sent me more than one, I could choose which one I wanted to pick. But I was sort of, there was a generally, if somebody got overwhelming support in the department, the other one, the other person got 51%, you went with the guy who got overwhelming support. Otherwise, you were just going to, the other person would have a tough time. Although I did that on occasion. But for the most part, I went along with what the faculty wanted. So if there is a dearth of minority faculty at East Carolina University, it's the fault of the faculty. It's not the administration's fault. And yet in their letter, what they want to do is to hold administrators, hold department chairs responsible for meeting the goals set by, whomever in these diversity plans to hire more faculty. But of course, the department chairs aren't given the authority to hire. That's going to rest with the faculty. So if the faculty don't hire more minorities, and they haven't been over the years, and I could go into plenty of stories about that, then the people who will be held responsible won't be the faculty. The faculty won't be held accountable for not hiring. It'll be the administrator, the department chairs, who will be held responsible for the failure to hire minority faculty when they lack the authority to do the hiring themselves. I mean, this makes no sense. But this is, again, how progressives operate. They want the outcomes, but they don't want to accept responsibility. They don't want to accept accountability. They don't ever want to accept blame if, like in Atlanta, where they've been running, Black Democrats have run the place for almost 50 years, and the Democrats for almost 2 centuries, and things go wrong. They don't want to accept responsibility for whatever went wrong in Atlanta or Philadelphia or Minneapolis or any of the other cities that they've run for quite a long time. Chicago, I mean, who's been running? I don't know when the last Republican mayor of Chicago is. I'll have to look that up. But I don't remember one in my lifetime. All I can remember is from Daley on, and they were all Democrats. So if there's problems in Chicago, who's responsible? Well, it's obvious, Donald Trump. And this is what I mean by liberal hypocrisy. The very people who are responsible for the problems that they're suddenly discovering are the people who want the additional power and resources to fix them. But they never want to accept responsibility for that. There's nowhere in this letter from the Faculty Senate does it say, we failed to hire minority faculty over the years, and that's mostly our own fault. No, who are they pointing the finger at? The administration, the department chairs, as if it's their fault. I mean, I went through a really tough fight in my department once. We had a African-American male candidate with a Princeton degree that I wanted to hire. I mean, how often do you get that opportunity? And instead they hired some mediocrity from UNC Chapel Hill, who was a woman. I guess in those days, gender trumped race, which is basically what I was told. And we ended up hiring her, and she went nowhere in the profession. And the last I heard, the guy was teaching at some small private university down somewhere in New Orleans. But, the only chance that we had to hire a minority faculty in that long period, African-American faculty at least in terms of minorities, it was me, the chair, who wanted to hire the guy, and the one African-American professor in the department. The 2 of us wanted to hire him, and the rest of them didn't. And they were so adamant about it that they actually said he wasn't even acceptable. So I didn't have the choice of picking him out of the group that they offered me. So there was nothing I could do, and I couldn't hire him. But today, these are the same people who say they're going to fix the problem. Well, in my view, this is in the cities, they're the ones who have caused the problems. But instead of accepting responsibility, accepting accountability, they want power and resources to fix the problem that they've caused and now identify. And if that fails, then they're not going to accept responsibility for that either. They're going to push it off on the administration. And it's the same happening in the cities. they don't admit that anything's their fault. It's always somebody else's fault. And if they don't get the resources from Washington, then they can blame Donald Trump. I mean, have you ever seen Democrats in an American city say, the city's gone to hell. The city's a racist cesspit. We've run it for almost 2 centuries, or a century, or a half a century, or 3/4 of a century. I think we should all resign and let somebody else come in and try to fix things. No, that never happens. It's just give us more power, give us more resources, give us more money, give us more authority. And the problems that we've created, we'll try to fix. I mean, if Democrats couldn't fix the problem in Atlanta in 178 years, what makes you think they're going to turn it around now? And it would be the same for the ECU campus. The faculty haven't fixed it. They have the authority. They have the numbers. They've had the votes. What happened? If things are so racist at East Carolina University, who's responsible? The administration? The department chairs? I mean, I could go through all kinds of examples of progressive racism on campus, and I'll do that in other videos, maybe in this series. So that's what we're facing in this country today. A bunch of people who really what they want to do is they've identified a problem, and they use that problem to ask for more resources and power. And they refuse to accept responsibility for any of the problems that they've identified, as if they had nothing to do with them. As if they had nothing to do with them. And that's progressive hypocrisy. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification button so you'll know when I post new videos. Until the next time, I'm out of here.